Hello, welcome to day 6 of TJ's video bullshit extravaganza deluxe superstar mega ultimate McRib deluxe sauce thing. Today we're going to talk about nihilistic optimism. I had this discussion with Paul over there before. You know, me and Paul, we're both nihilistic, cynical fucks, but you know, I tend to kind of find comfort in it. Whereas I think he's more down on it. Like he wishes there was some meaning or hope or something. I don't want to put words in his mouth, whatever. But to me, it's almost like a comfort. Like, you know, every time I get a little bit down, it's like, fuck, man, I got all these problems and all this shit's going wrong and this doesn't go in my way and that's not going my way. And then I just perk up because I remember, wait a minute, this is all fucking meaningless. None of this fucking matters, even a little bit. It doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter if I fucking strip off all my clothes and climb a bell tower and start lobbing grenades down at people. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter.
Hello people, this is Socrates Son. Today I am responding to nihilism. Or in other words, today is when nihilism dies. Those two are the same. When it comes to nihilism, we have three interesting questions. Those are:
3 big questions about nihilism. 1. Is nihilism a sound philosophical position? Can we defend the claim that life truly has no inherent meaning, value, or purpose? Or does that conclusion fall apart under scrutiny? 2. Does atheism lead to nihilism? If you remove belief in God or the divine, does that necessarily collapse the framework for meaning, morality, and purpose? Or can secular worldviews stand on their own? 3. What are the implications of embracing nihilism? If we do adopt a nihilistic outlook, how does that affect how we live, our motivations, our ethics, our sense of hope? Does it lead to despair, liberation, or something else?
Okay, so let's go to the first question. Is nihilism a sound philosophical position? To be able to answer this question, we first need the definition of nihilism. Let's see what is the definition of nihilism.
Nihilism is a philosophical belief that life is without objective meaning, purpose, or intrinsic value. It often involves skepticism toward commonly accepted moral truths, religious beliefs, or societal structures. There are different types of nihilism, including existential nihilism, the belief that life has no inherent meaning or value. Moral nihilism, the idea that moral facts or values do not exist objectively. Epistemological nihilism, skepticism about the possibility of knowledge or truth. Political nihilism, the rejection of political systems, laws, or institutions as inherently flawed or corrupt.
First, let's deal with existential nihilism. The belief that life has no inherent meaning or value. The key word here is inherent. Meaning and value are products of consciousness. In life, we have consciousness, therefore we experience meaning and value. But is life itself outside of our consciousness meaningful and valuable? That is the profound question.
There are 2 fundamental kinds of essence. 1, physical material. This is the realm of science, especially physics and biology. 2, mental, spiritual, or intelligible. This is the realm of mind, meaning, and morality, the territory of philosophy, introspection, and sometimes theology. Physical, material essence is relatively easy to define and recognize. But how about mental essence? A precondition for mental essence is consciousness, which can represent experience, intelligibility, and intentionality. Of subjective, objective, and absolute concepts. For objective and absolute concepts, there must exist an expression of a universally bounding mental reality. Where Platonic forms exist, So although consciousness represents self-awareness, intentionality, intelligibility, qualia, agency, embodiment, unity, temporality, there are concepts that are objective or absolute, mirroring not the experience part of consciousness, but universally bounding Platonic mental forms. Is life inherently meaningful and valuable? The answer is life necessarily mirrors, reflects, or translates these absolute concepts or mental forms, therefore inherently valuable.
Guys, to make a long story short, although the fact that things like meaning and value necessarily requires consciousness, even without consciousness, the Platonic forms of these things exist, therefore inherently valuable. The analogy is, although we need wood and a lighter to make fire, the wood itself inherently has the quality to produce fire in certain natural conditions. Isn't that right? So the same way, although consciousness is in fact the necessary prerequisite for meaning and value, still reality has the inherits Platonic forms. Okay, and from these Platonic forms, we derive the inherent quality of things like value and meaning.
Mental essence relates to the fact that our universe is rationally deductible, and minds have the capacity to recognize patterns. In contrast to chaos, patterns represent something ordered. Order itself may be the fundamental mental essence. Although meaning necessarily requires consciousness, the objectivity of concepts must exist independently of subjective consciousness. The fundamental quality of our universe to generate order and patterns underlies the objectivity of concepts. Is therefore life inherently meaningful? Yes, because life has the potential to produce certain meaningful patterns, in distinction to chaos.
The question, is life valuable and meaningful? It is part of our mental reality, so is bounded by the rules of philosophy. The fact that someday everything ends reflects a state where mental realities don't exist, and therefore this question doesn't apply anymore. After we die, is life meaningful and valuable? The universe has still the potential to produce consciousness that can mirror Platonic forms, but there is nobody to experience meaning and value. But for a question to be efficiently answered, we must qualify and identify what we ask in a holistic way. So, when I ask the question, when I ask the question, is life meaningful and valuable, I already presuppose consciousness. So, in other words, is me in this state that I ask the question? So all this, my state of mind and the fact that I am alive is presupposed in the question I ask whether life is meaningful and valuable. Okay, so for abbreviation, okay, because we have all these things, we are alive, and I am myself. I never say Is life meaningful and valuable from the perspective of consciousness, from the perspective of me, that I am now alive and I think? I never say this type of things because those are presupposed. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that when you want to efficiently answer questions in that deep level of philosophy, you need to qualify things in a very deep way. So when I ask the question, is life meaningful and valuable, I don't presuppose from the perspective of a stone after I die. If that was the case, I would have said, is life meaningful and valuable from the perspective of a stone? And that is another answer. But now when I ask this question, I presuppose consciousness. I am already inside of a mental state, and therefore I have a certain type of answer. Now, is there ultimate value and meaning in life? In the Platonic sense, yes. But in the experience type of sense, no, unless there is an ultimate mind, implying God. Okay. And that is your answer. That is a holistic answer to nihilism. I know it's confusing, but even for me it's difficult to explain that efficiently. So if you like, if you have the go, what I'm trying to say is go back and try to follow what I'm saying. Thank you very much.